We live in a beautiful state. We get almost about 100 million visitors from all over the world coming in here. So which means your businesses in one way or the other are going to be involved with consumers and customers from all over the world. Many business students actually take classes at universities and colleges all over the world, hoping obviously to do business not just with local consumers and vendors and suppliers, but internationally around the world. So think about H. Wayne Huizenga. Now, the business school at Nova Southeastern University is named after him. He operated companies like Blockbuster Videos, Waste Management. He started some of these companies by himself in the United States, but many of these companies obviously have been global companies. So doing business locally is great. You must be successful at it, but you also must be successful at doing business internationally. So when these students are coming and taking classes about international management, about globalization, about business in foreign countries in these universities, does it really make a difference? Well, you bet it makes a difference. Of course it does, because you learn by experience, you learn from cases, you learn from obviously experienced individuals who have done it, who have been there. So take those classes and obviously learn as much as you can before you venture into foreign countries. So we can start talking about international management, which is an essential learning element for all of us who will be dealing with multinational corporations. International management basically involves management concepts and techniques being applied in a multinational environment. So this basically means getting the work done with and through people using planning, organizing, leading, and controlling functions of management in order for you to be effective and efficient in achieving the company's goals. It also means we need to adapt our practices to different economic, political, and cultural contexts because you're managing internationally. When we're managing internationally, most likely you'll be working for a multinational corporation, so otherwise known as MNC. And MNC is basically a company that operates in more than one country. It has international sales, and it basically has a good nationality of managers from different cultures in different political environments. So international management or international business is heavily influenced, obviously, by globalization. All of us are a part of this trend that we know as globalization. So the academic definition of globalization is that it's basically a process of social, political, economic, cultural, and technological integration among countries around the world. Sometimes certain regions seem to advance a little bit faster than others. Globalization is impacted or speeded up or hastened in a way by offshoring as well as outsourcing. Most of you have heard of offshoring, which is a process by which the companies take some of their activities offshore locations instead of basically the country of the origin. Outsourcing is basically subcontracting or contracting of certain activities to external locations instead of your own country. So many countries outsource their functions abroad in order to save on the cost. Some of the benefits of globalization could include the fact that it generates more wealth for the country or local economy. It generates jobs. It brings in new technologies that the people are introduced and consumers could benefit from. Prices seem to be lower. So globalization also means that sometimes companies take their businesses in foreign environments. So that basically means you lose certain jobs. So globalization has become somewhat controversial because of the perception of the distribution of benefits. It's sort of uneven. Individuals who are involved in it, obviously, they might benefit from globalization. However, oftentimes funds leave the local country. It goes to the base country where the headquarters of a corporation is located. There is a shifting landscape due to this economic integration and rapid growth of emerging markets. So let's do a quick comparison of over 100 years in the market. So in the 1950s, some of the countries on the rise were said to be China, Soviet Union, India, United States, Japan, Indonesia, Germany, Brazil, UK, Italy, France, and Bangladesh. Now, some of these countries are still going to be the same in the year 2050. However, there are some changes as well. So the list is projected to be India, China, US, Indonesia, Pakistan, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Brazil, Bangladesh, Philippines, Mexico, and Congo. As you can see, 4 or 5 new countries will be on this list 100 years later in terms of countries that are on the rise for attracting foreign direct investment. So foreign direct investment could be investment in property, plant, equipment, or any other element of doing business in a foreign country. As you think about going abroad, competing with global competitors, internationally, overseas, you have to keep in mind the political, legal, and the technological environment of the new markets. And there are different ideologies that different markets operate upon. So this could be the country entirely, or it could be a part of the region that operates based on different ideologies. Think about individualism is one of those ideologies. In this ideology, people should be free to pursue economic and political endeavors without too much of a constraint from the government. So in business context, similar to capitalism, in connected to free market society, private property ownership and responsibility has been shown to be more successful, productive, and progressive than communal property. So collectivism, on the other hand, views the needs or goals of society as a whole as more important than individual desires. Collectivism could be on one side of the continuum and individualism could be on the other, but most countries are somewhere in between, not necessarily all the way on the extreme sides. On the other hand, you also have socialism, a moderate form of collectivism in which the government ownership of institutions is prevalent. So the ultimate goal would be serving, obviously, society. Socialism has been practiced in countries like China, North Korea, Cuba, as well as, obviously, the former Soviet Union countries and Vietnam. Socialism is the more moderate form of it, which is practiced perhaps in Great Britain's Labour Party, as well as in France, Spain, and Greece. So communism is an extreme form of socialism. These political systems can be evaluated along the 2 dimensions. The rights of citizens based on a system of government ranging from democratic to totalitarianism, and obviously a focus of political system based on individualism or collectivism. Democratic nations tend to emphasize more individualism, and totalitarian nations tend to emphasize collectivism. However, there is no pure form of government in any nations or culture. One of the political systems that you and I are very familiar with is what we consider democracy, which is a system in which government is controlled by the citizens, either directly or through elections. So it has European roots, and democratic society cannot exist without at least a 2-party system. So oftentimes we might have 3 or 4-party systems, as witnessed in the US as well as in the United Kingdom. The totalitarianism is one political system where only one representative party exists, and they control basically all facets of the political and human life for that nation or for that government. The legal and regulatory environment sometimes poses confusion and challenges for multinational corporations, simply because there are too many different laws in these different contexts or different political systems of countries. So we must carefully evaluate the legal framework in each market before doing business with them. So let me just emphasize a few of them. It could be Islamic law, it could be socialist law, it could be common law, it could be civil or code law. The principle of sovereignty basically means that governments have the right to rule themselves as they see fit. One country's court system cannot be used to rectify injustices or to impose penalties in another country unless the 2 countries have agreed upon beforehand. The Doctrine of Comedy, on the other hand, this is C-O-M-I-T-Y, comedy. It's basically a jurisdictional principle of international law which holds that there must be mutual respect for the laws, institutions, and governments of other countries in the matter of jurisdiction over their own citizens. So you would not want other countries, obviously, to be interfering with you. In general, individual countries use legal and regulatory policies to affect the international management environment. So globalization is heavily influenced by technology. Technology has reduced and eliminated middle management and the most white-collar jobs. So think about the winners and losers of different professions. In the future, as we're living longer and perhaps a little bit more healthier, there's going to be more demand for people in the healthcare profession, like registered nurses, home healthcare aides, personal care aides, and things like that. So these jobs will grow, and there will be many more positions open. On the other hand, some industries like farmers and ranchers and agricultural managers, people who are working for the postal office or mail services, those jobs will perhaps be reduced. Now let me briefly discuss one example of international management, international business. One of the countries that we've talked about that is an emerging or developing country and will continue to be so in the years to come is Vietnam. Now, the population of Vietnam ranges anywhere from about 95 to 100 million people, and the majority of these individuals are under the age of 50, which means they're very young. Vietnam is now catching up with the fast developing neighbors such as Thailand and Malaysia, as they've opened up some of the policies in dealing with Chinese government, as well as obviously the United States. In 1994, United States trade embargo with Vietnam was lifted. As a result of that, during the first 1 year, over 70 American businesses actually got licenses and signed contracts with the Vietnam government to do business there. Vietnam was inducted into the World Trade Organization in January of 2007. Vietnam is now experiencing about $15 to $20 billion in foreign direct investment annually. So many companies are taking advantage of opportunities, not just in Vietnam, but around the globe. The question is your company ready to deal with different cultures, different political systems, different ideologies, different norms, and different cultural practices? If your company is ready, that's good news. But if your company is not ready to go to foreign markets and take advantage of those opportunities, you will still need to be prepared, because whether you go abroad or not, those competitors will come and do business in your neighborhood. Therefore, we must be ready for international business and these global competitors. Good luck.